Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Not Your Average Man. I'm Chris. I'm here with my best friend Brad, which just got really awkward because he didn't know he was my best friend until just now.
I haven't accepted it yet.
Yeah, you haven't accepted it. You don't have to say it back. It's okay. It might be a little, might be a little early. Don't want to put any pressure on.
Yeah.
But anyway, hey, look. In all seriousness, guys, you got to have friends. You got to have other men around. We've talked about that in other episodes. It's just we can't do this alone. We're not made to do this alone. And you got to have people in your life that are going to be challenging you, that are going to be holding you accountable, that are going to be leading you, and also, like you said, people that we could feed into. That's one of the best ways to learn too, is to teach, right? To step into this.
Absolutely.
So we're here again. Got another episode for you. A topic Brad's really excited about. I joke. I joke. I joke. No, I can edit it out. But no, so we're gonna be diving into that. But before that, we want to just remind you again. Look, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. That way you can see what's coming out. Give us comments. Let us know what you're thinking. Or hit us up on email. Right? If you're not watching on YouTube, if you're just listening, email at notyouraverageman.com. So we're glad to get those, glad to get the feedback, love to get the reviews even as well. So if you're on the podcast, give a review. We still are looking forward to talking to some people who have left reviews. So we'll keep reaching out. And who knows, you might end up being somebody that we talk with and put you on the show. I did actually talk to somebody. I didn't press him. I didn't see if he gave a review. So Jamie, my wife, she's doing a women's conference this weekend. And one of the people who are coming, who sing, so she's the worship leader. She's worship, and she does that. She'll go and she'll sing. And so, and she's British. And her husband is from Ireland. And so I had said, hey, I want Gareth to, I was telling Jamie, hey, I want Gareth to do our intro one time. And
that'd be cool.
Yeah, wouldn't it be cool? And Jamie goes, well, he's not British, he's Irish. And I said, that's even better.
That's even better. Exactly.
That's even better. I love the Irish accent.
Yeah.
So I got to be, oh yeah. Yeah, it would be awesome. So I got to meet him last night, and he listened to our first episode. And he goes, we're kind of just didn't have a lot of direction with that. Just but I guess you're just kind of like laying out the idea of the show and all. I'm like, yeah, no, that's a fair assessment. It was just kind of getting to know us a little, getting to know the concept and the idea. We are a little more conversational, but loved the feedback, loved that he listened. And now that I think about it, I'm going to push him to give us a review.
Yeah. And I think you could take, with those accents, you could take a lot more, right?
Oh, it's easier to take.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Chris, I was listening to the episode, and I really think that you all pretty much sucked. Just sucked eggs all day long. It was the worst half an hour I've ever spent in my life. It was pretty painful, and I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, I'm like, that's amazing, awesome. Could you write that in the comments
with your accent? Could
you put the accent in the comments too? That was a spot on accent, by the way. I mean, I'm not a accent professional, I guess, but to me, I couldn't tell you where you were from in Ireland, but it sounded Irish.
More Northern Irish, because more Southern Ireland, it's a little harder to understand and to pick up. That I had a buddy in high school who was from Southern Ireland. Every other sentence, I'm like, Craig, I'm so sorry, man. Could you repeat that?
Could you slow down? I need subtitles.
Yeah, especially because high school, again, I wasn't saved before almost 30 years old. So in high school, when Craig and I would go to the Irish pub, it was really hard to understand what he was saying.
I'm sure.
The night started going into them. But all that to say, we appreciate any and all feedback, whether you have an accent or not. And Gareth does teach, he has a leadership thing that he teaches off of, I think he said Ephesians 4. So
oh, wow.
I've already thrown out
That'd
there.
be cool. Yeah.
So
I'd like that. I mean, I don't know how much I'd talk. I mean, which that's fine because it's a guest. But I would just kind of be like, yeah, just like listen, like zoned in.
Yeah.
Right?
Just going to listen to your accent the whole time. Just
Yeah. Oh my goodness!
I can only imagine when he actually hears this play. He's going to be
exactly.
like, "Yeah, I'm not going to be able to join your show. Yeah, I'm busy for the rest of the year,
for
I'm
all the
up.
time."
Yeah, and pretty much 2023 too.
Yeah.
But speaking of teaching, okay, here's now transition. Oh, okay, yeah. So speaking of teaching people, teaching leadership and all that, right? You are a teacher. You instruct, right? You get in front of people and you teach classes.
Yeah, not on the regular, but yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, that's part of kind of what I do. So like part of my whole career and everything I do is I do teach quite a bit, and I have help. It's not just me by myself up there teaching. Like we teach a lot of different tactics and just different skill sets and stuff like that. So, but I do have the opportunity to teach a lot of different classes on different things, a myriad of things that apply to like what we do at work. Well, anyway, a lot of times.
Question, just out of curiosity, about how many is a myriad?
Oh man. Like like Webster? Like Webster's definition?
I'm just messing around. I'm just messing around.
It's a lot. It is a lot.
I don't know how much a myriad is. Is it close to a plethora?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Okay. All right.
You know, that word reminds me of Three Amigos. Like
That's
every time I hear that
what
word.
I thought about when I think of Three Amigos. Yeah. When I asked that question, it was actually because I was thinking of plethora from Three Amigos.
Yeah, exactly. It's a sweater. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, man.
But no,
it's derailed you already.
No, this is totally fine. 100% fine. Anyway, during a lot of training, so if there's any law enforcement guys out there, first responders, that's the word I was thinking of. If there's any first responders out there, military dudes, I know 99% of you have heard this term in training, and it's to keep your head on a swivel, right? To always be looking around, always be aware of what's going on. And so some of the classes I teach, I don't know if I necessarily say that, but it's always something that's said. You always hear it all the time. And so anyway, while this week, when I was just minding my own business and working out, this popped into my head as a topic for our podcast because I thought it was so good, especially for guys. And basically what that means, because I'm assuming everyone knows what this means, but
sure,
really what it means. Yeah, exactly. Just whatever. But what it really means is being aware of everything that's going on around you. Maybe not 100% in tune, but your eyes are open, like you're looking around. And like in our line of work, I mean, it's crazy important, like super, super important. You can't be caught off guard. And if you are caught off guard, like you're already way behind the curve. And so being able to like understand what's going on in your surroundings and just keeping a lookout for you and your buddy. A lot of times what I do can go from urban to rural or rural to urban. And that means like we'll be out in the mountains and sticks. And so just having that awareness, right, of everything that's going on. So that topic though, like that is the physical aspect of what I want to get into, the spiritual side of it. But the physical side of it is like always being ready for something to happen, right? Whether it's you jumping into action for somebody, right? And it could just be for anything. It doesn't have to be like some movie star role thing. It's just being there for someone, but being ready to do that, being ready. So like I put in the notes too, I don't know how many people out there have tattoos or whatever. Like some people frown on them. I have a couple. One of them though, I got on my ribs. It's from a famous poem. I don't know the poem. I mean, I've looked it up, clearly that's where I got it. but I can't recite the poem.
No, that's okay.
So
I'm smiling because what you said about that is because I got it on my ribs just to prove to everybody that I'm tough and I can handle it.
Yeah. Where's the worst place you can get a tattoo? That's where I want it.
Where does it hurt the most? There. Or it was either my ribs or my eyelids. So I went for my ribs.
And I couldn't fit it on my eyelids. So
there we go.
Oh my gosh. No. So I get it on my ribs. And it says, if today be the day. And when I got that, I was thinking both, right? This was like years into Lisa and I's like reconciliation, years into me like really getting rooted in my walk with Christ and all that. So I did think of it as this spiritual aspect and this physical aspect of what I do for a living, right? Like I have to be ready. You know, we never know when our, Super Bowl is going to happen, right? Like that most important thing in your life. You never know when that's going to happen. So in the realm of the guys who I'm kind of talking to specifically right now with first responders or anybody in that community, you never know when you're going to have that Super Bowl. Like you've been training your whole life, your whole career life for something. And some guys, it never happens. And that's like not a bad career. It just never happens. And that's like, okay, great. Like you leave that career with knowing that you didn't have to be tested all the way. Right. And in some guys, it does happen. Your Super Bowl does happen. And if you're not ready for it, you can't magically become something that you're not ready for, right? Ready to become. Like I can't get ready now. I have to be ready, right? Like it's not like, oh, this is happening. Let me get ready and have the 1980s montage where it shows me like working out and like going to the dojo, doing all this stuff. Yeah, wrapping the headband around, and then it's like, all right, let's do this. Like it's not real. Yeah, exactly. It's not reality at all. So,
which, by the way, that was how I figured out how we could get around licensing issues. I just sing the songs that we would have put in, and
boom. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there we go. Okay,
they're like,
right,
you don't have to worry about licensing on that. That was horrible.
No, it's unrecognizable.
It's unrecognizable. It's fine. Oh man, no, and it's this whole like idea, and God probably put on my heart for sure because I wasn't like working out thinking about this stuff, but I feel like I guess the challenge is right that men now we've heard from tons of men in what we do in our ministry that they're trying to get ready after the fact, that they're trying to be what they should have been. They're trying to like become the man they should have become before. And and listen, I've failed on this front clearly. Like I have a whole testimony that fails on this front. But what I never failed on was my physical, the physical world side of it. Because I always knew that there's that real danger out there, right? There's a real danger and I need to be ready. I don't have time to get ready. I need to be ready. And I think that you take what you can't see and you totally are just like, it kind of goes by the wayside, even though what we can't see, this spiritual world we can't see, that's the eternity. That's like forever. My wife and I were talking about this at breakfast today. Where people, and I think a lot of Christian Christ followers, great Christ followers, they might fall into this too. But where you kind of take that for granted, thinking that like it's eternity, right? So you're either eternally with Christ or you are suffering the worst thing that you could suffer for eternity. It doesn't stop. Like that's what, like I don't feel like people understand the weight of that. Right? Like, I mean, think about it. It's like, it's never going to stop ever. Like this little on the rope of eternity, we're like a little speck of our time on earth. And we will prepare as much as we can for everything physical. We will save money, make sure the kids have this, make sure we have this, make sure our health is great. make sure we have our head on a swivel, right? We're always looking around, trying to protect our family, trying to take care of ourselves, trying to build up. But not everyone, generally speaking, I don't want to offend people. Like we were offending people on the last podcast, last episode for a little bit. I'm not trying to like offend you. But
we don't want to offend. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not out to do that.
That's not our hearts. We might end up offending, but it's not our hearts.
Exactly. No, exactly. But generally speaking, I think that's where a lot of men fall off, and women too. But 100%, like this is for guys. So I feel that's where a lot of men fall off, is they only see this physical world and what we need to do and what we need to be ready for, when really, like, you don't want to drop that. But man, like, take a second and be like, eternity. Like, that is heavy. Like, it's actually scary to think about. Like, literally, like a dude that's grown up in church, right? And you're like, well, I'm going to be with God for eternity? Like, I don't even understand that. Like, what am I going to do 10,000 years from now? What am I going to be doing? Like, I don't even understand that concept, you know?
Sure. Well, because even like that hymn, when we've been there 10,000 years, right? Shining as the sun. We've no less days to seek your praise until. And I kind of look. I'll be honest. There's those times where like, okay, so 10,000 years, being praising God and all that, and I'm like, will I be kind of thinking, all right, is there something else to do in between? I mean, I'm all down for that, but I'm just trying to be a little transparent with that. I'm not trying to downplay that at all that, because the thought is, okay, spend eternity praising God. Now, I can only imagine it's because it takes an eternity to praise God. It takes an eternity to get there, and and there's also our hearts won't be clouded by. But what about my Netflix series? Well, I get to finish that. Right. So we'll have all this other junk gone. So I bring that up. I only bring that up because I think certain people you might even think that, okay, I'm saved and stuff like that, and then this is, oh wow, will we be able to do this? I mean, are we going to do anything else and stuff like that? But that's that flip side. Okay, imagine how long it's going to feel separated from God, right? I don't think we're going to need to wait 10,000 years for it to really sink in. I'm thinking 10 years is more than enough for it to really sink in, and going, what have I done, and whom have I pulled away from God, who the same fate's gonna follow.
Ooh, that second one, that's a kicker. That is a kick, because it goes both ways, and that's why, like, it's so important. Just this topic that we're talking about is so important, because it goes both ways. How many people, starting with your circle of family, right? How many people can you bring with you to heaven? They have to make the choice.
Sure.
But
the way tie them up and drag them with
you can't smuggle them in. You can't smuggle them in. So I gotta make the choice.
Peter's talking to Paul. We found another heaven coyote.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, you're not jumping this fence. But the way you live your life, the way you lead your family, the way you do what you're supposed to do through Christ, like, that will win people for Christ. And so, I mean, that's such like a heavy topic. Like, I mean, this got heavy like super quick.
Sorry, which is odd, because I'm the one cutting jokes, and I'm the one made it heavy. So
yeah, I mean, dude, no, like, I mean, for guys thinking that, like, I've thought the same thing Chris is thinking. I've also thought, like, marriage, right? Like, married and our kids. There's no marriage in heaven. Like, he specifically talks about this, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. No, but I don't want to be without them. Right. And I still, like, that one bothers me a lot, because I'm like, wait a minute, what about your kids? And it's like,
so we might get some comments on this one now, because we're bringing some stuff up.
Yeah.
Well, because it's the same thing, because we thought the same thing, but it doesn't mean just because we're not married doesn't mean we're not, or get to be around them. Right.
Exactly.
And, and there's a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? We don't know. We just know.
Oh yeah.
It's going to be way better than it would. Take the best thing you can think of, and that's like playing in a mud puddle versus going to the ocean. I mean, and that's still probably
it's so true. No, it does, and it's so true though, and that's what I do remind myself things like that, because I'm like, but what? Like, I want to see them still. Like, I want to, So I'm like, no, I'm sure I'll get to see them, but it's just so weird thinking that whole. We can't. Like, our human brains cannot figure and understand that. There's no time. There's no any. Like, it's just totally. Oof, yeah, it's heavy. That's heavy.
Yeah.
So
it's good stuff.
On that note, our main point with keeping your head on a swivel is
bring us home, Brad.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it around somehow. No, it's easier to stay ready than to get ready, right? For anything. And
yeah,
I'm saying it's easier. It's not easy. It's just easier, right? So getting ready is tough, right? Whatever it is, like we put it in the physical realm, the spiritual realm. It's hard to like start. Where do I start? Do I start reading the Bible? Yes, start reading the Bible. Start praying. You don't know how to do those things. Like, get around church. People are like, oh, COVID, I don't need church. I don't need church. No, you do need church. And they're like, well, Jesus didn't have church. Well, yeah, but you know what? Jesus told Peter that he's going to build a church. Like, this is all of Acts. What are they doing? Going around, sharing the gospel, building churches. Like, this, I'm reading Titus right now. He got dropped off in like a horrible island, and Paul's like, build some churches there. All right. And make sure you do it right.
Good luck.
Yeah. I'm going to be leaving. Yeah, exactly. Paul's like, I'm leaving. You're staying. All right. Yeah. By the way, you're staying. You're going to build some churches. Yeah.
Somebody needs to plant some churches in this place, but not me. Paul out.
But not me. I'm out. Yeah. But no, it's so important to like surround yourself with that community, because that is part of getting ready, right? Like, I want to be in the Word daily. Just like I talked about, we're reading Titus right now. Why? Well, because I'm reading the New Testament through the year, but I'm actually like trying to like really not just check the box. Like, I really want to understand it. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, no one picks up the Bible and goes, I'm going to read Titus, like, let me get to Titus. Like, that's not,
I do. I go, hey, which Philemon, that's a really short book. I could get through that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. My favorite memory verse, Jesus wept.
Yeah. There it is. Exactly. Easiest one to memorize.
I got it down.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, like, okay.
No, go for it.
Oh, I was just going to say, because even like you said, Jesus launched his ministry. Well, I guess you could qualify where he launched his ministry, but he was in a synagogue, right? He went to the synagogues. It wasn't that he didn't do that. I mean, goodness, when he was 12, he was in the temple, right? And he get left behind. He said, I'm in my Father's house, right? But he was in the synagogue, and I love this story because he was asked to read. He was the guest. He was the honored guest, and he was asked to read. If you're not familiar with Jewish tradition, they will go through the Torah, the first five books of the Bible, and then the prophets, and then but they work their way through it sequentially, right? Unlike some churches that are topical and they like, hey, we're talking about this week, and then they pull from different verses. They just kind of work their way through the scrolls until they got to the end, and then they rewound them. Not really, but anyway. So here's the verse that was to be read at that day was that because Jesus didn't just go, oh, here's what I'm speaking on today. It was I've declared right to now I'm going to blow it. But anyway, it talks about that he's come to bind up the brokenhearted. It's from Isaiah, bind up the brokenhearted and set the captive free. Yeah. And then Jesus puts it down and says, and today you will see this come to pass. Right. So he's in the right place at the right time in a church synagogue. Yeah. Right. And he's reading this. So because people will say, Jesus to go to church. Well, he was the church walking around. People came to him and they heard the sermons and they communed and stuff like that. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's just right, because people do say that, and you mentioned that prior, and that stirred me up, and I wanted to say something before, but I didn't. And now I did.
It gets me fired up too, because it's like, and people will be like, well, you don't have to go to church to be saved. And it's like, no, you're right. You know what? Tony Evans said this. I don't know if you know what I'm going to talk about, but I saw this quote from Tony Evans, and he said, people will say you don't have to go to church to be saved. And they're right. But you also don't have to go home to be married. But if you don't go home, if you're married, what's going to happen to that marriage? Like, and I thought that was so great. And I probably totally botched that quote, but that is exactly what he was saying. He's like, yeah, I don't have to go home to be married, but if I don't go home, how long do you think that marriage is going to last? I don't have to be saved. Yeah. And I don't have to be saved to go to church. Look at I always point to the thief on the cross, right? Thief on the cross next to Jesus. Like, he didn't do anything. He didn't do anything other than confess, you are Lord, like, and have that repentant heart. But other than that, like, he lived a life of crime. Like, he did whatever he wanted to do. So you don't need that. But man, if you start isolating yourself and saying like, I don't need church, then you're not going to be ready. Because here's the deal. Spiritually, every single one of us is going to get tested. We're going to have our Super Bowl, and we might have multiple Super Bowls depending on who you are, but we're going to have our Super Bowl. And when you're tested, if you're not ready, you are going to fall. And that is like, that's the beginning of my testimony that we talked about a few episodes ago. Like, that is why I fell. I was not ready to fully be tested in this spiritual aspect. And what I mean by multiple Super Bowls, like, I'll probably be tested again. And I know I've been tested since then. And the more sanctification I go through, the more like closer I try to get with Christ, guess what? I'm going to get tested again. And I'm going to get tested again. And if I'm not ready for those, I'm going to fail. And the failing could be horrible. Like, it could cost, like last time, my failure could have cost my whole family. Yeah. Like, it could have changed a legacy where I either am where I am now with my family and my kids see what I'm trying to be, a Christ-like follower. I'm trying to be this dad that leads them spiritually, trying to do what God wants me to do. And my kids either see that, or they see an absent husband that got a divorce because he failed on his family. And now every weekend they're switching houses, holidays and all that stuff that handles with divorce. Now their legacy could be screwed up statistically. Yeah. It's already going to start out bad for them. Right. Yeah. And so not being ready, it's not even just something like, oh, well, I'll learn from my mistake and I can pick myself up and try this again. You can, but the weight of not being spiritually ready for something, it could ripple effect through everything. And that, I guess, like, I'm not trying to scare people, but I am trying to scare people. Like, I'm trying to help you understand, like, you need Christ. You need to open up the Bible. You need to go to church. You need to surround yourself with a community of men that will speak life into you. Like, you need this, even though you feel like you might be a perfect Christ follower. You need this because you need to keep building yourself up. You need to stay ready. Yeah, yeah. And I love that, how you said that. It's easier to keep, or wait, I'm going to butcher that now, but it's easier to stay ready than to get ready. So getting ready could seem like insurmountable. That's way the wrong word. But it could seem like a big trial, especially if you're starting late. Guys, I started late. I'm no special person. I was 28 years old, just turned 29, or getting ready to turn 29, and then I just never read. Well, I know how to read, but I did. But then I just got this hunger. Right? God gave me this hunger to just read, and I started devouring everything I could and started to learn more about who God is and who Jesus was and is and who he is to me and what his promises are. And like, I didn't go to seminary or, well, I kind of did, but that's not the point. The point is that it was, you could start at any time
and from whatever place, and even like you mentioned, sanctification. Yes, it's a fancy church word. It just means becoming more made like Christ. Yeah. It's not the easiest process to go through, but it's a purposeful one that can be started at any time. But the sooner you start, the sooner you're prepared. The sooner you're prepared, the less likely you are to fall and to falter when that Super Bowl comes, right? You know, and if you're talking about offending people. If you're not having Super Bowls, right? If you haven't had one, expect one. But if you're not having one, then it might suggest that you're not a threat.
Yeah, man, right? That's so true.
it might suggest that what you are doing in your life, physical, emotional, family, the friends, and all that. That you're just not seen as somebody that they have to bother with, right? Somebody mentioned, don't need to waste the ink. I think it was Matt waste, right? And and so that should in of itself shouldn't be scary, but it should raise concern. Should make you think, going, hey, am I too average? Am I too going with the flow? Have I already been kind of put out of the way and am considered such a non-threat? No. Is it a comfortable life? Sure. But is that what we want? We want a life of comfort and of life of letting our families get run over and knowing that where we're leading, because you're leading whether you think you're leading or not, where we're leading, they're very likely to follow. Okay. Absolutely. So Brad, thanks so much for sharing that topic. I'm glad that God gave it to you. I'm glad that you brought that up because I think it's important. And we're going to keep talking about this kind of stuff. And we want to hear from you if there's things that you want to talk about, because look, we don't want you just to live this average life, right? We want you to, for your own sake, for your friends' sakes, for your family's sakes, we want you to be more, to do more. We want you to be better than your average man. We look forward to talking to you next time.